Why are you not happy with your life? Since you clicked on this video, it's entirely possible you don't feel satisfied and you don't feel content with where you are in life. And that's totally okay, because today in this video, I plan to show you a good mindset shift you can have to make you more happy with your life. An easy fix, something that it may be hidden, but it's easy to fix that make you more happy and more content with your life, and on top of some other causes. Now, myself personally, I have felt not happy with my life in my past, but I feel like I've gotten over that. I've gotten past that. I have a new mindset, I have a new reframe where I feel pretty content all the time with where I'm at and very grateful from where I'm at. So if you want to have that same ideology and that same framework, I promise you by the end of this video, you will be able to have that if you put into motion the things that I teach you. With that being said, my name's Richardson. I'm a coach here at Life on Your Terms, and I make these videos to help pass on my knowledge and pass on my experience to make these things easier for you guys. So the first piece is the mental shift that you need to have. And I think some piece of this is that you're only focused on happiness itself. You're only concerned about being happy, and you're not okay with feeling a wide variety of emotions. And if you're only concerned about being happy, you are admitting to yourself subconsciously that you are not happy and you are at a deficit, so you probably tell yourself that you'll be happy when fill in the blank sometime, and when that comes around, you will move the goalpost even further. And I guarantee you've been in this cycle a lot in your life. You've told yourself you'll be happy when you have kids, or when you get that job, or when you make this amount of money, or when you take this vacation, whatever it may be, that you are only focused on that, and then you move the goalposts and you put yourself at that deficit again. So the first mindset shift that you can have is to actually not focus on happiness at all. Focus as being a human, and being a human encompasses feeling mad, feeling sad, feeling angry, and feeling joyful. And that's how I think of happiness nowadays. I think of it as joy, not about just being happy all the time. Because if I was being happy all the time, I wouldn't do the things that are making the most out of my life. And that is the new metric that I focus on, is making the most out of my life. So I no longer focus on, oh, am I happy in this situation? Because I'm not always happy to go to the gym. I'm not always happy to do the work that needs to be done. But I know by doing those things, I'm making the most out of my life. And long term, when I look back and I retrospectively look at, you know what? I'm really happy that I did all those things, and I feel a great amount of joy doing those things. So that's the first mindset shift you need to have, is to not only focus on happiness. Now, another thing that may be holding you back is you're too focused on being perfect. I had such a problem with perfectionism, and what I had to do to override it is, instead of thinking about, oh, I missed 1% on that test, or oh, I messed up one thing in that call, instead of that, I had to go from, okay, I'm not gonna look at what I'm doing wrong, I'm only gonna look at what I'm doing right. So I had to rewire my brain, because my brain always was like, you did this wrong, you did this wrong, you did this wrong, never focused on what I did right. So every time for about 6 months, something that I was focused on getting wrong, I would always reprogram. But hold on, what did I do right? I still focused on the wrongs to be able to get better, but I would have to rewire my brain to feel like what I'm doing right. So that's perfectionism. On top of perfectionism, you may be consuming too much social media. If you're consuming too much social media, that's gonna cause comparison. And again, it's gonna put you at a deficit because you think you don't have the life that that person has. Now, another mindset shift that you need to have is that you may be focused too much on external validation. You may be too focused on what your friends think of you, what your family thinks of you, what society thinks of you, and you're getting that to value yourself. So you need to turn that to an internal validation. What are some things you can do to really respect yourself? And one of those things that I really like to do is take the balance wheel in the description below, because when you take this, you're gonna see where you feel like you have deficits in your life. And then once you identify those deficits, you can then focus on taking your physical health from a 6 to an 8, taking your relationship with your spouse from a 5 to a 7, whatever it looks like for you, but that can help you internally validate yourself and start to respect yourself because you're working on your life and you don't really care about what other people think. So that may be a piece of happiness. On top of external validation is, what are the negative influences that are in your life that you may need to eliminate. And with those, you have to ask yourself, what friends, what family, what media, what are you consuming that is negative and does not add to your life? And I would encourage you to do an audit. Literally go through your phone, go through all the apps, go through your friends, think about all your friends, think about, are they more negative, are they more positive? And if they're more negative, it may be time to spend less time with them or remove them entirely. Now, on top of negative influences, I encourage you to ask yourself, what negativity do you have within yourself? Because judgment is a mirror. And what I mean by this is if I judge someone for being overweight, I will judge myself about my weight. And I will think about that, like, oh my gosh, I can't be overweight because I judge these people about it. And I guarantee it's the same thing for you. That's what I've really noticed in my life, is if I look at the things that I judge people on, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what I judge myself on. So then my next step was to release that judgment and just be like, that's another person, that's what they want to do, who cares what they do? And then I apply that same mentality to myself because I'm another person. I'm going to do what I want to do in my life, make the impact. And so that's what I encourage you to do, is ask yourself what negative influences you have and what judgments are you making that may be causing you to judge yourself on, that is then affecting your joy and contentment with your life. Now, on top of the negative influences, one more thing you can do with a mindset shift is, are you happy with the person you are? Maybe you're not, and it's okay if you're not, because that means you just want to be better. You want to be better for yourself, and that's great. And again, you could take that balance wheel, because I can really highlight some areas that maybe you're not happy with the person you are, because that's going to look at professional, that's going to look at relationships, that's going to look at resources, that's going to look at health. It's going to be a really good picture of, are you happy with the person you are in your life in general? Now, the second piece that's a really easy fix is that you have a lack of purpose or direction. You're like, whoa, Chris, that's easy to fix. Yes, it's easy to fix. And this is why it's easy to fix. Because if you have a lack of purpose or direction, you're probably floating through life with a more reactive tendency. And what you want to do is you want to get proactive. Because once you get proactive, you'll be able to find these things a lot easier. So again, like the balance wheel, that's a proactive action that you can take today to help you find your purpose and find your direction. On top of that, you may feel like you have no impact at all. You're like, I'm at this job, Chris, like, yeah, I took the balance wheel, but it's like, it doesn't show me what I need to do. Because once you do that, after you take the balance wheel, let's say you have 4 out of 10 in your professional area. What you can do with that is you can ask yourself, what would amazing look like 12 months from now in the professional area? Or what would a 10 out of 10 look like in the professional area? Because what you can do there is you can take where you're at. Okay, this is the job I'm at, this is the impact I'm making, and I really don't like it. This is what amazing would look like. And then you have all this difference. And what am I supposed to do with that difference, Chris? I have this outcome that I visualized, and it sounds really cool, but how do I get there? Well, all that difference is you're gonna visualize the work it's gonna take to get there. And you visualize the work it's gonna take to get there because it's gonna make it a lot easier to take that action. If you know that you have to send in 100 applications, make all these connections, do like that, and to get this outcome, you'll be more likely to do it, and you have a clear path on how to get there. So you're gonna ask yourself, what does amazing look like? What is the work to get there? And if you're still struggling with this stuff, you can also ask yourself these 4 situations. Now, the 4 situations, the first being, if I gave you $100 million today, what would you do with it? What type of events, what would you travel? What would you work on? Stuff like that. If I told you that you had to do something you love, but I'd pay you 200 grand a year to do it, you just can never stop doing it. What would that look like? If I told you that you had 3 years left to live, what would you do with that time? Or if I said, it is your 100th birthday, what are some of the legacy items? What are the things you'd want people to be talking about? Because once you look at those 4 situations, you can start to rank them. Be like, you know what? I really care about making a difference. And that legacy is really important to me. Okay, then I'm gonna think about what does amazing look like with that legacy? Okay, I wanna make that impact. I wanna help people take control of their lives, whatever it is. Okay, now I see that. I see where I'm at, and I see the first step I can take in the work to get there. Because once it highlights that, you're gonna feel a lot more content and joyful about your situation, and you're not always gonna be happy taking this action, but you're making the most out of your life. That's what the new metric I wanna measure you to measure yourself with, is what am I doing to make the most out of my life? Now, on top of that, you wanna set goals with this. I like daily, weekly, quarterly, and yearly goals, and you could practice the 4 it's of goal setting, which is say it, write it, date it, and send it, and that'll make it much more likely for you to take that action. Now, the third and final piece that's causing you to not make the most of your life or feel happy with your life is chronic stress or anxiety could be a huge piece. And if you have chronic stress or anxiety, you have to ask yourself, at least in my opinion, when I look at my anxiety, it's because I have too many perceived options. If I feel depressed or sad, it's because I have a lack of perceived options. So you have to ask yourself, which camp are you in? And if you're anxious, you want to start cutting the options, get rid of them. And if you feel depressed, I want you to start trying to add options, add things that you can do to find your way out of this. And that can really help, those options. So again, with anxiety, cut. With depression, add. So those might be some other causes why you feel this way. Now, obviously, I do want to recommend professional help. I am not a therapist by any means, but if you're feeling those things, get professional help. But that can be a little tool with the options that you have. Now, on top of options and anxiety or depression, another cause could be unresolved things from the past. And again, this may take therapy as well. For me, it was a combination of therapy, but also having this mindset trick. And this mindset trick is that, so I had divorced parents when they were 3. And with that being said, I feel like I had a lot of commitment issues and it caused problems in my relationship. So what I had to do is I had to take back my power. And what I mean by that is that the divorce was their choice, not my choice. It doesn't affect me at all that they got divorced outside of, my life and how I had to live it. But like my beliefs and my actions, their divorce is their divorce. That's their actions. That's their beliefs. It doesn't mean that I have to get divorced. This doesn't mean I have to fall in those same patterns. So what I would encourage you to do is look at your past, look at the thing that is kind of ugly and kind of not good, but realize that it wasn't your choice. It was their choice. And so if there are things of the past that other people have done, don't let them have the power. Regain your power, because what you choose today is completely up to you. It's not based upon the past. It's about what you choose to do. So I encourage you to retake that power. So that was why you're not happy with your life. I know there's a lot in that video and a lot to unpack, and you may be feeling some emotions right now, but it's powerful. And if you can look back on these things, maybe rewatch the video and see what resonates with you, you can really move through this stuff and really make a difference in your own life. So with that being said, if you haven't, take that balance wheel now, because that's gonna be your first step to regaining control. On top of taking that balance wheel, if you will comment what you liked in this video, that gives me a clear indication of what you guys like. And if you'll like and subscribe, that's just the icing on the cake.